So Broca's is the primary expressive aphasia. So it's a primary aphasia. It is a consequence of damage to the network of regions in the frontal lobe that are directly involved with generating the form, the syntax, the organization of the utterance, whether it is spoken or signed, for example, or in the form of writing. So somebody with Broca's aphasia, as you can see in the video that's posted online here, has difficulty with generating output of any sort. What's interesting is sometimes clinically they try to help Broca's aphasics by asking them to try to write as well as to speak, and if they sign, to try to sign as well, to try to generate as many forms of output to sort of drive activity through the remaining components of that damaged network. In addition, the fact that they sometimes stop to write something down or try to write something when they're having difficulty with vocal expression offers a bit of a social space where people give them a little more time, to come up with what they'd like to say. And again, Broca's, is characterized, it's expressive aphasia, so it's characterized by very halting, difficult generation of either speech, sign, or writing. So like Broca's original patient was limited to a single syllable and could only say, ton, very, very halting speech. Sometimes Broca's aphasics, actually quite often, may have something associated with Broca's, but it's not specifically Broca's, but it's what's called a dysarthria. So there's problems with the actual output. The decision about what to say may have been, organized and generated by the network, that is damaged in Broca's. But then the actual output from primary motor cortex, the upper motor neurons that are located in the precentral gyrus, in the areas that control, the larynx, the pharynx, the mouth, the tongue, may have been impacted by, stroke damage, for example, that extends sort of posteriorly, basically into primary motor cortex, and that can generate problems with the actual output. So people may have a problem with what they say, everything that they say. This is called a dysarthria. What's interesting is that oftentimes automatic speech, the ability to sort of count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or to say the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that's kind of like overlearned sorts of motor activity, motor behavior. And that may not be impacted by Broca's. They still may be able to generate that sort of automatic speech, but a dysarthria, which involves damage to the direct output to these muscles, will impact every form of expression. So it won't just be the syntactically correct organized utterance, but it'll also involve the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's indicative of a dysarthria. The actual damage to the ability to sort of program the utterance, whether it's again signed or spoken or written, that damage is described often in specifically relation to speech as a speech apraxia, which is different than a dysarthria. A dysarthria will affect all forms of output, whether it's automatic speech or grammatically correct kind of utterances, while a speech apraxia is limited to causing damage to your ability to generate syntactically correct speech, complex speech. Now, Broca's is interesting. There are different forms, different kinds of words are lost first. So, for example, people tend to lose prepositions like of or from or to, and that can actually make it difficult to actually comprehend sometimes complex, grammatically complex language from others. So the boy, was hit by the girl. Somebody with Broca's may actually, translate that or kind of comprehend that as boy hit girl. So they won't get the complexities that are inherent in that more complex grammatical construction. Verbs are clearly lost, as you can see in those videos on D2L, before nouns. So the speech that somebody with Broca's is left with is a very halting, sort of telegraphic, not very grammatically complex, noun-based sort of presentation. And that's our primary, again, expressive aphasia.